Here's the thing about the chakras. You have trillions of cells, and each one of them are a point of consciousness. And each one of them, like you, as the captain of your ship, so to speak, are having contrasting experiences and asking for constant improvement. And so when a cell asks for improvement, Source answers it, and energy begins to move. We think that these points that different people have pointed out are points that they're more aware of, where they are blocking the energy from flowing. In other words, you don't have to teach your cells how to ask for energy, and you don't have to teach source energy how to provide it. In fact, you don't have to teach yourself anything about alignment if you hadn't taught yourself how to get out of alignment. So it's an interesting thing. You have deliberately subjected yourself to contrast and variety for the purpose of the expanded idea. But it can be problematic when the contrast helps you know what you don't want, and you spend an inordinate amount of time beating the drum of what you do not want. An ideal experience would be contrast shows you what you don't want, helps you know what you do want, and as soon as you know that, turn your undivided attention toward what you do want, and you would have no blockage with chakras. Right. So it really doesn't matter in what way you are defining your resistance or your allowance. It's only important that you recognize that you are allowing or resisting the totality of who you are at any point in time. We know that even the sensation of emotion, where do you feel emotion? Sometimes you say, I feel it in my gut. Sometimes you say, my head is spinning. Sometimes you say, my heart is hurting, or my heart is opening. And we just want you to realize that to try to pinpoint specific areas of your body and to try to organize the energy as it flows is really going about it the hard way. Yeah. However, we've noticed, and we know you have too, that when you have, you see, this is the most important thing to understand about all of this that we're talking about. And you're certainly helping us bring it to a new level. Life is what's causing you to ask for what you want. So step one takes care of itself automatically through your observation and participation in life. Source takes care of step two because Source always answers what you are asking for. Step three is where all of your time and attention and work really go in the creative process, and that's bringing yourself up to speed with what you have been asking for. If you had not trained yourself to think those upstream thoughts, you would not now have to be making the effort to make downstream thoughts. And so what we're really getting at here is that it's natural for the energy to flow through you, and it's natural for you to allow it to flow, and when you do, you don't need to talk about chakras at all. However, the things that you're thinking about that have you blocking your energy, blocking's too strong of a word, are the details of life that you've picked up along your physical trail. And so to say to someone, just don't do that, you can't all of a sudden deactivate a vibration that has been activated. In other words, when you focus upon something for a while, and not very long, 17 seconds really, that's long enough to get a vibration activated enough that now law of attraction is responding to that. And if you stay focused there again and again, by the time you have stayed focused upon something for as short of time as 68 seconds, you have a strong point of attraction going on. So a lot of people, whether they are understanding about energy or not, have learned that by finding something to focus upon that takes your attention away from whatever it is that you were focusing upon that was causing the disallowance of the energy flow, it can be beneficial. Mm-hmm. Almost every group or religion have symbols and processes that they are offering, and we want to say, and it's never fair to put everything in one basket and throw one label on it, but for the most part, what these different symbols have done, which have been beneficial, and people who have applied them, no matter what religious context they are applying them, will in a majority of cases tell you that they are getting positive results from them. And the reason they are getting the positive results from them is because they are looking at something and they are giving it their undivided attention, and in doing so they are withdrawing their attention from the resistant thing that was causing them to block their energy, and then the energy begins moving again. You see what we're getting at? It is the focusing on something that is non-resistant in nature. And so if someone said to you, if you will carry this orb in your hand and focus upon it, it will bring you well-being, and you listened to that and wanted well-being and believed what they said and then focused upon it, there is an alignment takes place that stops the resistance, and well-being begins to come in more abundance. So
I got it. Perfect.
It doesn't matter what you use as your excuse to allow the energy to flow. That's really our point. And it's interesting as we watch humans slaughtering one another on your planet today and always, it seems, as you argue about which form of distraction that you use to keep yourself from blocking the energy to flow. Religions, for the most part, are just a variety of methodologies that you've used to allow your natural well-being to flow. And sometimes you're further from it, and sometimes you're closer to it, and never are you all doing it in the same way. We would, if it were not for the likes of you, ever utter the word chakra, ever. Because we think it is inconsequential and unimportant. But we don't think it's wrong that you do. If you find, you could say, I study the discipline of belly button focus. And since my belly button is the sort of center of my being, and since it was the tube through which I received sustenance before I was born, I think it is sacred in nature. And so whenever I have a problem, I meditate on my belly button, and it brings me into alignment. And we say, well, if your belly button feels innocuous to you, in other words, if it doesn't have some deep-seated point of worry, or you could say, I have the smallest little mole on the back of my neck, and I subscribe to the focusing on the mole on the back of my neck process. It does not matter. I find a flower in every carpet in every room, and I focus upon that flower. And so someone says, how's your mother? And I say, I'd rather think about this flower. Well, how's George Bush doing in Washington? I'd rather think about this flower. Well, how's that job interview going? I'd rather think about this flower. In other words, anything you use to focus upon that is not resistant in nature will raise your cork. That's what meditation is. We teach you meditation because it's easier to teach you to have no thought than to have pure positive thought. When you quiet your mind, you stop thought. And when you stop thought, you stop resistance. And when you stop resistance, your vibration raises. It's like hold the cork under the water. That's resistance. That's what negative thought is. Let go of it. It will always bob right back to the surface. So any trick you want to put in your bag of tricks that causes you to focus and no longer disallow the energy from flowing is beneficial.